Hey everybody, it's Rob. I'm back. We're going to do another TryHackMe machine. This time we're doing a machine called Team, and it is a Linux box rated as easy. It says beginner friendly boot to root machine. I would disagree with that. I think there are some elements of that are pretty easy and beginner friendly, but there are other elements that require some creative thinking. So, my opinion. Without further ado, you can see I am on TryHackMe's VPN, and I do have Team spun up, and here's the IP address. So as we always do, we ran an mmap scan, service version detection, T for all ports aggressive, and 21, 22, and 80 came back. Now 21, because we ran an aggressive scan, it's not anonymous FTP is not available. 22, you know the story with that. 80, we have HTTP. It looks like an Apache web server. So we really don't have much choice. We're going to go to the web page. Now, I will tell you this. I poked around, did some go busting and everything. It was tough to figure out what to do, for me at least. And I was stuck for a little bit. And what I decided to do, because I'm trying to get into the habit, and you should do this always too, is to look at the page source of these pages. And if you happen to look at the page source of this default page, there is something in here that is not default. If you see this, add team.thm to your hosts. So that's going to be very helpful, especially if you want to do things like subdomain hunting. A lot of those tools won't work with an IP address. You have to put a qualified domain name in there. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to add team.tryhackme to the host file. We're going to do that right now. Sudo nano etc hosts. And then we're going to come down to the last line. We're going to paste in the IP address, copy, paste, and then we'll tab and we'll do team.tryhackme. Okay? Control O to save, Control X to exit. So now when we come up here, we should be able to put in HTTP team.tryhackme. And if I actually put the slashes in, it would work. So now you see the actual web page that the Apache server is hosting. It is a very basic page. I'm going to be honest with you. There's nothing here. Okay. So what I contended was I had to do some substantial go busting on this website, and I had to even use some functionality that I haven't really used much, and also use a larger word list. The Derby common didn't work for some of this. So let's get that out of the way and do it, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So the first one that we're going to run is just your typical GoBuster script, right? We're doing GoBuster. We're doing the URL, which is team.tryhackme, and we're using the Derby common text. And there's some stuff that comes back, but most of it's useless. Images, it takes you to an assets, it takes you to a directory, listable directory, but there's really nothing you can do. Now, the robots.txt has some interesting information in it, and the scripts one caught my eye. So let's visit the robots.txt first. Robots.txt. And it just says Dale. So I'm guessing that's a username, so we should note down that Dale is probably a user of this system. Now, let's go to this scripts folder and see what happens. Forbidden. So we don't have access to actually access this resource. So what I did was I ran a regular GoBust scan on Teams scripts to see if there was anything in there. And it came up empty. And I was really kind of getting stuck. So what I decided to do was, and the good reason we put the fully qualified domain name in the host file is we're going to do some subdirectory hunting. And I always use a tool called FUF for that. If you don't use FUF, you should. So we're going to copy this. We're going to paste it. So it's FUF, and we're using, and I actually have to fix that. There's an extra space in there. We're using the subdomains top 1 million, which is actually 110,000. Excuse me. And then we're running against the URL team.thm. And then this is where the magic happens. So basically, this fuzz word is replaced with every single word in the word list and checked as a potential subdomain. So we're going to run this. I don't think it took super long, but I will tell you this. We're going to have to probably put a filter on this. So you'll see what I mean in a second. What did I do wrong? User share. Oh, okay. I see what I did there. User share. Oh, here. Put an extra dash in there. That's why you got to be careful when you copy and paste stuff. All right. Anyway, we'll try and run this again and see what happens. See what happens? You're getting everything, and you don't really want this. So what you want to do is hit Control-C, and you're going to want to run it again, but this time you're going to want to put a filter, which is TAC-F, on words, right? And then we're going to filter on 3512 because most of them are 3512, so we want to see everything that's not 3512. And if you've used Burp Suite, it's almost the same concept when you get a bunch of information back from Burp Suite and all of the responses are very similar in size. You look for the ones that are bigger usually, or smaller, but they are different from the one that you get normally for the majority of the responses. So we're going to hit enter. And right away we got stuff. So we got dev. And really that's all we need. So we're not going to let this run because it's not going to find anything else. So we're going to hit Control-C. Now we know we have dev. So one of the things that we want to do is go back and re-edit the host file and add that dev host to the host file. So dev.team.tryhackme. Control-O to save, Control-X to exit. And now what we're going to do is we're going to come up here and we're going to do http dev.team.thm and see what comes up. And it says this site is being built. Placeholder link to team share. Okay. And I can tell you right now, if you've watched any of my videos, your eyes should light up when you see stuff like this because it's either going to be local or remote file inclusion. So I would say this. Let's do a test. Let's see what happens when we put a single quote in there. Nothing. Let's see what happens if we try to return Etsy passwd. There you go, right there. It's so we can do at least local file inclusion. We could test it for remote file inclusion, which would be another way where we could run a root shell, via a PHP web shell. But I'm going to be a spoiler, and I'm going to say I tried that and it did not work. So this is not vulnerable to remote file inclusions. It is vulnerable to local file inclusions. So I'm going to be honest with you. I tried a bunch of stuff, but I wasn't exactly sure what to do. The only thing I could think of was trying to use Burp Suite to try and feed this thing a bunch of directories and see what information I could get back. Because I'm going to be honest with you, if you try to do Etsy shadow, you're going to get, it's most likely not going to work. Yeah. So it's only going to display files that don't have privileged access to them. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to fire up Burp Suite. And I found this website while Burp Suite is firing up. Next, start Burp. Okay. So if we come here, I found this website. I'll include a link in the description below. It's basically got a bunch of file payloads And what we're going to do is there's a lot of them here, and Burp Suite, when you're doing intruder, is pretty slow for the community version. And the file that we need from the last time I did this machine is at the bottom. So what I had did was I did all of them, and it took a while, so we're not going to do that. So what I'll probably do is there's what, 900 here. I'll probably grab, yeah, everything from here, this var down, so like the last 300, and that won't take as long, and you'll be able to see it in action. Okay, so how we do this is pretty simple. First of all, I got to make Burp Suite bigger here. Okay, and then what we need to do is we need to proxy, turn intercept on, and then we need to go to Foxy proxy, or you need to set your proxy settings to use the Burp Suite proxy. So we're now using the Burp Suite proxy. Now what we can do here is we can reload this page, and we're going to get a request here. And we're going to take this request and we're going to right click on it, and we're going to say send to intruder. So now we go to intruder, and you can see the file is right here that it's looking for. So now we'll actually make this bigger. We can do this. We can go to that website, and we can copy all of these, this payload. Right? Copy. And what you need to do is you need to set what you're gonna test against. So we want to highlight the file path that we're testing against, and we want to put add. Right? So that is where it's going to insert all of these payloads, and it's going to just keep trying each payload. Right? So now what we do is we go to the payload configuration and we paste. So now all those payloads are in there, okay? And you can see there's a bunch of them. And then I believe all we need to do now is click Start Attack. Oh, and a sniper attack means there's only one in here. So let's start the attack. Now you'll see a lot of these responses are the same length. You're not going to see anything earth-shattering here. You're just going to see a bunch of responses. But what you want to do, or what I would do, is sort this so that the biggest ones are at the top. That's the smallest ones. That's the biggest one. So far, that's all we've got, right? And it's still going. And you can see why I didn't do the whole thing. But this is going to be pretty interesting for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause while this is attacking, and then I'll show you the result. Okay, it's still running. Like I said, the community version of Burp Suite is pretty slow when you're doing a sniper attack. But I believe the file that we need has already popped up in here. So the way this works now is you have all of these files, right? And they all look relatively the same. What you should do is go from largest to smallest. Now, the way that this number is determined is by the length of the response. So bigger responses tend to mean that there's something different about the response. All the ones that are similar probably either are the same error message or they didn't return anything. So the magic happens when you click on this response tab. Right now we're looking at the request. So if you click on any of them, they all look the same. It's just the request. If you click on the response, now you can see the ones that have larger lengths are actually returning information. Now, too long didn't read. I'm going to save a bunch of time on this video. The one that we're interested in is this one right here, the SSH SSHD _config. I looked through all of these, and when I looked through this config file, I found something very interesting that shouldn't be there. This right here. Dale's ID RSA key to log in using SSH. So what you think we're going to do with this? We're going to copy this key. We're going to have to make some changes to it because obviously we need to get rid of all of those hashtags. But we're going to copy this and we're going to try and log in with it. So that's what we're going to do. I'm actually going to see if I can copy this. End SSH key, private key, copy, go to nano, and we will do nano ID RSA. And we'll paste this in, Control V. We don't want to do Control V. Actually, I want to get out of here and redo that, because if you do Control V, you're messing stuff up. What we want to do is paste clipboard. Okay, so there's the key. Now, the easiest way to do this in Nano is to hit Control / and you want to replace the hashtag. Let's see, why is it not letting me? There we go. Wasn't letting me type. So there's the hashtag. It's not working. There we go. There's the hashtag, right? So now we hit enter, and we want to replace it with nothing, right? And we want to replace all. So we just hit A, and it took all the hashtags out, okay? Now we hit Control O to save, Control X to exit. Now we know the user's Dale because not only did we find Dale's name in the web page that we found, but it was also nicely attached to that RSA key for us. So let's do that. Let's do SSH Dale, and what we're going to do, and I think that my IP address has changed, so let's get the right IP address in there. All right. And then we're just using TACI for an identity file. And the identity file is what we just created. We put the key in the file, we saved it. We removed all the hashtags, of course. So we're going to hit enter. We're going to say yes. And I just made a mistake. And I'm going to, it's good that I made this mistake because this will help you. Hit Control C. If we do LSAIL, it's saying that the key is not secure. So if we look at IDRSA, right, it is read, write, read, write, read. We don't want it like that. We want to change that to Chmod 400 ID RSA. Now when we LSAIL ID RSA, we can see now it's read only. Okay, now let's try and clear the screen and SSH in again. We shouldn't get that error. Matter of fact, it should just log us in. There you go. So we are Dale now at this machine. So we'll do history. And there's a bunch of history here. And right off the bat, we see some sudo commands. This is unusual. You don't really see this much. I didn't really pay too much attention to all of this. Because I found something interesting on my second step, which is sudo tacl, and it confirms what you see there. So Dale can run that particular script as Giles with no password. Now, I'll be honest with you folks, I was stuck on this for a while, just to basically see what this script looks like. Let's go to cd home Giles. And we will do a nano on admin checks. So what this thing looks like it's doing is it's taking some input from the person, name and the date, okay? And then it's doing basically a copy of some stats to a file date tagged backup file. And I struggled here. I couldn't think of a way to take advantage of this. And, I did things like, I tried to do everything. I tried to use pipe this to other things, and it just wouldn't work. So if we hit Control X, and you actually run this script. So if we do Actually, the way you would run as another user, you saw it in the history, but I'll copy and paste it here so you can see. First, we'll clear the screen. That's how you do it. So you would do sudo users or user argument, and you would say Giles, and then you have to use the exact path of the command, right? So if we run this, it reads stats, it asks for the person backing up the data, and I tried doing everything. And then I eventually just tried to do, run commands in here, right? If config, and that's what happened. It took an hour of me messing around before I finally tried that, and it worked. So, what based on this, what do you think we can do? We could try and execute something like bash and see if it gets us into Giles' account. Maybe Giles has some different access than Dale does. Okay, so let's try it. We'll try it again. This time we'll do bin bash. Bin bash. And I even did it here again. Bin bash. Now it looks like nothing's happening, but if you go, who am I? We're Giles. So I think I decided that it was time to try and upgrade my shell. So I said, let's see if we can do this, where this is a standard thing you should have in your notes on how to upgrade your shell. It's basically just a Python script, a Python statement that spawns a bin bash shell. So now we're Giles, right? So before we do anything else, let's go see if we can get the user flag as Dale. I probably should have got it when I was Dale, but let's see if we can get it as Giles. CD home, CD Dale, ls cat user .txt, and there's the user flag. So that was easy enough. So now what we can do is we can do the same thing. We can do history, and there's a bunch of stuff here. And I noticed this right off the bat. There's this admin stuff. So I don't know where that is. Here it is. It's in opt. So this is why running history is important. Typically, this doesn't come into play because, like a lot of these CTF machines, they pipe it to dev null, so it's all gone. So what we're going to do is we'll also do sudo tacl to see what. And I don't know Giles' password, so that's a problem. So we just got to let this fail. And what we'll do is we'll go to cd opt, which is where users usually install full non-operating system programs, right? We do an ls. There's this admin stuff. So if we do ls ail, it's a directory. It's owned by root and the admin group. So if I do id, you can see Giles is in the admin group. Okay, so let's go into cd admin stuff. We'll do an ls. And there's a script.shell. All right, that's great. Let's see, cat script.shell. Okay, it says I have a cron job to run this script every minute. Well, let's see if it's in Giles cron tab or if it's in roots cron tab. Oh God, I can't type today. Sorry guys, I apologize. No cron tab for Giles, so we'll maybe try cat etc cron tab. I don't see anything, so I don't know who's running what, but it says it's running every minute. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to look and see what the permissions on this this script are. So the group should be able to, we should be able to edit this. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to move script.shell to script dot old, and then we're going to nano script dot shell, and then we're going to pop in a bash one-liner copy, paste clipboard, all right, Control O, Control X, and then we're going to start a listener. And we'll see what happens. Oh, I got to make that file executable. Don't forget to do that. So if we do lsail, what happened? Oh, looks like I lost. Oh no. Okay, there we go. I don't know. The keyboard just got kludgy, and I don't know if the machine hung or what, but we'll do lsail. Don't know why it's doing that. Clear. ls. Okay, ls. Okay, lsail. Okay, I don't know why that wasn't working. That was kludgy. These machines can be a little weird sometimes. So script.shell is not executable, so we have to do chmod plus x script.shell. Hit enter. lsail. Okay, now it's executable, so now we wait. And I'm going to pause until we get something back. Okay, sorry, I had somebody knock on my door, but we're back, and a root shell came, popped. It took a little bit, but it finally popped about a minute or two in. So you can see we are root now, so we can do ls. Well, we can do ls, and then we have root.txt, so we'll cat root.txt, and I will blur this out. There's the root flag. So I'm not so sure this is a beginner-friendly machine. They're required a little bit of thinking, especially around exploiting that app that Dale could run as Giles. But here's how we did it. We ran an mmap scan. We found that 80 had a Apache web server running. Eventually, we figured out that we should look at the source. It said to put team.tryhackme into the host file, which we did. We did some go busting, found some directories, not stuff that was really useful. But ended up finding a subdomain when we used a tool called FUF. We went to the subdomain dev and found a page with a link on it to a page coming soon. It was definitely vulnerable to local file inclusion. So we fired up Burp Suite and some payloads of all of the files in the file system, and we let that run and figured out which ones it was returning information from. The one that we needed after much searching was the SSH config file. Someone put a key in there, an ID RSA key for logging into SSH. So we copied that into a new file, and we used that to log in as Dale. Once we were Dale, we figured out that Dale could run a shell script as Giles. The shell script was a little bit baffling at first, but eventually I figured out that if I just put commands into the prompts, it would run them. So we did bin bash, and we were able to pop a shell as Giles. Once we were Giles, we figured out Giles was in the admin group. Looking at the history, we saw there was an admin folder in the opt directory. We went in there. There was another shell script that runs every minute, and we had access to edit it. So we dropped a one-line payload from payloads all the things in there, fired up a listener, and then we got a root shell. So I hope you found this video useful. I hope you learned something. All of the links will be provided in the description below. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to drop a comment. Otherwise, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.